I was taught by pushing because I weighed like
Well,
like 30 pounds
you
when I
can't
started
catch waves when
surfing.
you're
Yeah.
like 10, it's hard to catch waves,
I was like, I was a toddler. So I can still feel my dad's hand on my back pressing me onto the board as I went through whitewaters, and
Mm,
how comfortable it made me feel and how safe I felt going through whitewaters with my dad's hand on my back,
mm.
pressing me to the board. Like he was just like, he had me put my hands up and put my head on the deck to go through. I didn't like that mistake that some beginners make where they're like faces up and the whitewater just like fills their mouth with
Yeah.
water. Um, but I can say for a fact, watching somebody, equipping somebody and helping somebody achieve catching a wave on their own and riding a green water on their own, and seeing how like that first time green water that they do on their own, it is like they're so stoked.
Yeah.
You could, it's just, it's not even comparable to
You've earned it.
having been pushed into a wave.
You
It's not,
you
there's no comparison.
you when you work harder for it, you appreciate it more.
Yeah. I
That's
always
really
thought
it.
too with adult beginners, like they, some of them have PhDs and master's degrees, they have children, they run companies, they work hard, they pay rent. Like they do not need to be patronized to.
Hmm.
Like they don't, they want to be treated like the hardworking, uh, educated, critical thinking adults that they are.
Yeah.
And they don't, and they're humans too,
Yeah.
and so they have a vast potential, and like they don't want to be kept stuck. And like the other thing is with people, so the criticism on the other side, so I could see surf school owners criticizing me, but on the other side with the people, the gatekeeping in surfing of like, there are already enough surfers, like I'm a part of the problem because I'm making people surf at all, I'm teaching people at all.
Hmm.
I'm like, they're going to just go do it untrained if I don't train them. I'm not like, whether I exist as a mentor, as in a capitalist structure offering for pay surf education or not, these like people are still not, I can't
They're
teach
gonna go.
everybody,
Yeah.
people are going anyway. So I mean, I often say like, there are, there's in a way there aren't enough coaches. Like I would love to, I'm going to develop a training I mean, I think the next step for me after I get this book published, it's not that I'll stop teaching adult beginners, but I would love
To
to
train the trainers.
train trainers and like
Yeah.
get and train and equip people with these methods for teaching people how to surf. Um,
So can
yeah.
we go into like what does it look like for someone entering Conatus Surf Club? Like what is the your structure, I guess, for teaching someone? Like can you walk some of our listeners through
Hmm.
this?
Yeah.
I'd love them to get
So
an idea of like what they should prepare for and how your methodology.
it's an email first, usually, people
Yeah.
inquire. I have considered like turning the store off and just opening, like sometimes people just buy a product without emailing, and I'm like, okay, so we're starting. I'll pretty much take anybody on because since COVID started, my packages are non-expiring.
Hmm.
I do have one-off sessions, but I kind of discouraged. I make them like prohibitively expensive so that I encourage packages.
Hmm.
Um, and so I have a 3 session, a 5 session, and a 10 session package. And everything I do is built with flexibility into it so that like because you have to be flexible with the ocean. So now that they're not expiring, it's even more flexible.
Yeah.
Previously, I had a 6 month expiration because like I do prefer to finish packages both
Yeah.
for my business and for the student. Like the more instruction you can get, the the faster you're going to get better at surfing.
Yeah.
So the more instruction you get, the more often you can get instruction. Like it's just like, I'm going to be better if I get to surf with pros.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you
You
get,
surf
even
with
if,
better people, you get better.
yeah, you get to see examples of like what it looks like to really enter the wave properly. And there are so few competent surfers on display at any given time in our local lineups that it's that's even hard just to you don't even know what you're looking at because
Yeah.
the other people you're apprehending don't know what they're doing either. So it's the blind leading the blind. Okay, so you could just purchase a product, and if I haven't have been so busy, I haven't been so successful that I've had to turn the store off.
Yeah.
But most people, I feel they email me and they're like, I heard you on the podcast. I'm interested in getting coaching. And then I'll be like, okay, this is what we do is you can either just buy a package and we'll work in the virtual sessions and introduction to the method and my introduction to their surfing virtually through the package, or they pay, like if you've already have a practice, I have a virtual consultation.
Hmm.
Um, and so I could sell as many as and then basically that's where I learn about. So instead of doing a long email back and forth, I'd rather people schedule a virtual conversation because it takes my time to do the email. So, and time
Hmm.
is money, and I'm writing a book and coaching other people. So I'd
And you get
rather
more
just,
out of them by talking to them, I think.
yeah. And then
No.
I basically am like, okay, what's your relationship to surfing? And I get to hear their surfing story and what attracts them to it, and
Hmm.
field their questions for me about what the training looks like. And that it does look different based upon where they're at. People, uh, I roughly categorize people as clean slaters. So those are
Hmm.
people that never surfed at all whatsoever, no lessons, absolutely just want to quote unquote learn the right way, and
Hmm.
have correctly apprehended that I could do that. And so there's the clean slaters, and then and that's pretty when if for a clean slate that's pretty basic. Usually, then the surf schoolers, those are people with some surf school. I surfed in Costa Rica at XYZ
Hmm.
surf camp, or I went to ABC surf camp in New York like 2 summers, and like I had fun being pushed into a wave. But when I tried it on my own, I realized I had no clue what I was doing, and like
Yeah.
those people are sweet, but like I want the more intense thing. So that said, little shout out to those kinds of surf schools for,
Yeah.
uh, initiating them
Filtering
and
them
giving
to you.
giving me the symbiotic feeding pool.
Yeah.
Um, so with them, it's again like there's two. So usually in a package, if you don't, I train people to read a surf forecast. So first, I do a virtual session on surfing culture and history.
Hmm.
I could spend a actual like a whole package on that. And when my book is done, this will get tweaked, and I'll probably require people read my book before
Yeah.
they do sessions. Um, and But for now, I give a class on surf history and culture.
Yeah.
And then I give a class on oceanography and surf forecasting. And then I provide PDFs for them on the links that I talk about in the oceanography class. That way, so basically, I teach my students because the whole concept is for people to have a self-sustaining practice. So part of that is reading a surf forecast for their ability level and really
Hmm.
getting into the nerdy data points of the buoys and the winds and being just on top of our local weather, tides,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff, and start becoming because I believe that surfing is a research practice. So I'm teaching them the basic building blocks of this research practice. We're wave researchers is what we are.
I like that.
So I show them the basics of how to start researching waves on their own. And then they try to schedule with me. I have an active, so as soon as people are actively involved in a package, they go in my active client email list. I have a newsletter that you can sign up for on the front page of the website at the bottom. That's community wide. You don't have to be in sessions for that. That's
Mm-hmm.
free. It's usually once or twice a month. It's like a kind of like a zine,
Yeah.
philosophy surfing zine. And so my but the active clients get like a couple emails a week, just like I'm doing this. Like I used to give full, radical, detailed uh surf forecast, and then I
Yeah.
realized people were waiting for those to
Yeah.
schedule, and I was like they would stress me out. So I was like, wait, and now they're not learning to read the surf forecast because they're
Yeah.
waiting for me to do it for them. So I've trained, so people must be trained to read the surf forecast. And that doesn't mean they have to be pro at it, but I want people to be like, hey, Dion, I see that tomorrow is a medium tide, 1 feet at 9 seconds and light winds. And I think that will be good for me. Swell directions from the southeast.
Mm.
There isn't any wind. And like, then I'll be like, you're right. Good job. And two other people have asked, I'll put you on the list and I'll get back to you about like a time slot.
Yeah.
So I train people to read the surf forecast. That's how they do the scheduling. And also because our conditions change so much, that's basically what I do is like I have a running iNote where like it has Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and like I get the requests. It's first come, first serve based upon how people are like
Predicting the
motivated
surf. Yeah.
and how motivated they are. I
Yeah.
check the buoys
You shouldn't be
5,000
chasing
times a
people
day.
down. They
I
should be
don't chase
chasing
people
you.
down. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't chase people down, and however motivated they are, and the more motivated but I'm aware if somebody's like super motivated and they've had 3 sessions, and some person's just been busy, and then they request that same time spot. They go, they get. I'm like, I'll be like, sorry, you know, person who's gone with me 3 times this week. I'm going to take this person who hasn't been with me maybe in months,
Yeah.
So I'm aware of where everybody's at. And so far it's not been unwieldy for me. And then also inverting the other methods of teaching surfing is so a private one-on-one session is an hour in the water,
Mm-hmm.
and a semi-private session is 90 minutes, but you have to qualify for a semi-private session. So I even took the semi-private session off as a single product because in the other surf schools, it's cheaper and more introductory to go with a group of people. For me, you have to be better trained to qualify to be around others.
Yeah.
So until I've gotten you to a place where I feel confident you can handle your equipment and you can surf with others, then it's all one-on-ones until I apprehend. And then I never do more than 3-to-1 in terms of instructor student ratio. But it's longer time in the water if I have you with other surfers. But it actually is like part of this sustainable method of my semi-privates is that you actually learn priority and surf ethics when it's actually better and more efficacious because you're sharing with the other students and like, hey, look, Sarah fell off on the inside, so even though you're in position for this one, you can't go because she's in your way.
Yeah.
So it's just having that awareness. And then also then like for the bigger surf, people who are trying to learn that, like, or even just stuff happens where it's like, you were the only one that read the buoys right today, and I just so happen want to surf for 5 hours. So sometimes, like, sometimes I'll be like tight schedule, like, okay, I need the board, and other times I can be flexible and be like, well, I'm going to be out here. So if you want to keep surfing, I'll keep giving you, like after an hour and a half, like I'm going to be doing my Dion thing. And if you can keep up with me, I'll keep giving you pointers. But like, but I just try to build in the flexibility that the ocean and feel that I'm compensated for my time. And then, I've had some really great students along the way, some of them who are still with me, like Katie Lalonde, who, she's like helped me become a lot of my students have helped me become a better teacher. She's just like, I want to feel that I got like, like 1 or 2 of the good tips, and like, I've definitely been guilty of just surfing. If the waves,
but there's something to be said about being watched too, and having your students watch you surf. And I think it's actually, personally, I think it's as a beginner, you should be, for the most part, just be sitting in the water watching. Instead of being obsessed with catching your own waves, you should be watching what happens.
Yeah, I agree.
And spending a lot of time observing. And by you surfing with them, you're teaching them and showing them a whole wide range of tools, from paddling to positioning to the politics in the water. And it's a chess game in the water a lot of times for positioning.
Yeah, definitely. So that's basically, and then it's
Are
Sometimes I
there
do video. Sometimes I do video. I'm doing this huge video archival project of like all of my